Have you ever been blindsided by someone's rude comment and thought of the perfect response 3 hours later? Yeah, we've all been there. Rude people thrive on shock value. They expect you to freeze, stutter, or explode. But what if you could shut them down instantly, calmly, confidently, and without becoming the villain in the story? Here are 10 ways to stop rude behavior in its tracks. 1. Pause and stare. There's a split second after someone says something rude when time seems to freeze. Your brain scrambles, your heart speeds up, your mouth wants to fire back. And that's exactly what rude people count on. They rely on shock. They rely on reaction. They rely on the emotional explosion that makes them feel powerful. So instead of reacting, you do something far more unsettling. You pause. Not a confused pause, not a nervous pause, a deliberate pause. You lift your eyes, you look at them steadily, and you say nothing. That's silence. It's not weakness, it's pressure. Most people are wildly uncomfortable with silence. In conversation, we rush to fill it. But when someone drops a rude comment and you don't respond, the energy shifts instantly. The spotlight flips back onto them. Now they're the one sitting in the awkwardness. Now they're the one wondering if they went too far. Now they're the one who has to explain themselves. And here's the beautiful part. Silence makes people hear their own words echo in their head. What sounded bold 2 seconds ago suddenly sounds childish. What felt clever now feels exposed. The pause forces accountability without you saying a single word. This technique works because it disrupts expectations. Rude people expect you to defend yourself, argue, justify, or snap. When you don't, their momentum collapses. You've taken the oxygen out of the room. And the stare, it's not aggressive, it's composed, calm, neutral. You're not glaring, you're not smirking, you're simply holding eye contact long enough to say, without words, I heard you. And that wasn't impressive. Silence can be louder than shouting. Now, let's make it practical. Imagine you're in a meeting. You present an idea you've worked hard on. A coworker leans back and says with a half smirk, "That's actually pretty basic." The room shifts. Everyone looks at you. Old instinct, defend, over-explain. Prove yourself. New power move. You pause. You slowly look at them. You let 3 full seconds pass. 1, 2, 3. No smile, no frown. Just calm eye contact. The silence stretches. Suddenly they feel it. They might cough, shift in their seat. Add, "I mean, it's just simple." That's all. You still don't rush. Then, evenly, you say, "Can you clarify what you mean by basic?" Now they're explaining. Now they're backtracking. Now the room sees who disrupted the professionalism. And you never raised your voice. Here's another example. At a family gathering, someone says loudly, "Wow, you've gained weight." The table goes quiet. Instead of snapping or laughing it off, you pause. You look at them. You hold the silence. 5 seconds can feel like an eternity. Eventually they may say, "I was just joking." Then you calmly respond, "Oh, that's it. You've made the joke die on arrival." When you pause and stare, you're doing 3 powerful things. First, you're showing emotional control. People respect the person who doesn't flinch. Second, you're creating social pressure. Others in the room start evaluating the rude comment themselves. Third, you're signaling self-worth. You don't scramble to defend yourself because you don't feel threatened. It takes confidence to sit in silence, but confidence grows every time you practice it. Here's how to master it. Relax your face. Keep your shoulders still. Hold eye contact naturally. Count slowly in your head, if needed. 3 seconds is powerful, 5 seconds is nuclear, and if you choose to speak afterward, keep it minimal. The fewer words you use, the stronger they land. The truth is, the loudest person in the room isn't the most powerful, the calmest one is. When you pause and stare, you're not just shutting down rudeness, you're sending a message. I am not easily shaken. And that kind of composure, it makes rude people very, very uncomfortable. 2. Use humor to flip it. Rude people throw comments like punches. They expect you to block. They expect you to swing back. They expect impact. But humor is a sidestep. It's the smooth pivot that makes their punch hit nothing but air. When you use humor to flip a rude comment, you're not just defending yourself, you're flipping the power dynamic. You're showing that their words didn't land hard enough to hurt you. And nothing frustrates a rude person more than realizing they can't rattle you. Humor works because it does 3 things instantly. It lightens the tension. It makes the rude person look small without you being aggressive. It keeps you in control of the room. The key is this: your humor must be calm, effortless, and slightly unexpected. Not bitter, not defensive, not sarcastic in a mean way. The goal isn't to wound, it's to neutralize. Imagine someone says, "Wow, you actually dressed up today." Instead of snapping, you smile slightly and say, "I try to impress at least once a year." Light, controlled, delivered with ease. Now everyone laughs, not at you, but at the situation. The sting disappears. The rude person doesn't get the reaction they wanted. Here's another example. You're in a group conversation, and someone says, "You're always so quiet. Do you even talk?" Old response, embarrassment. Over-explaining, forced chatter. New response, "I do. I just charge per sentence." Now you've turned the spotlight into entertainment. You didn't deny it. You didn't justify it. You owned it. That's the magic. Humor signals confidence, and confidence shuts down rudeness faster than anger ever will. Let's say someone looks at you and says, "You look exhausted." You could defend yourself, or you could say, "I am. I've been carrying this conversation." Smile, pause. Now the room feels the shift. Here's why this works so well. Humor changes the emotional temperature. Rude comments thrive in tension. When you respond playfully, you remove the drama. The rude person can't escalate without looking ridiculous. Think of it like verbal aikido. You're not fighting the force, you're redirecting it. Picture this scenario. At work, a colleague says in front of others, "Did you even read the instructions?" Instead of reacting defensively, you say, "I did. I just like to keep things exciting." Delivered smoothly, this response does something powerful. It shows you're not intimidated. It keeps the atmosphere light, and it quietly communicates, "I'm not shaken." Or imagine a friend says, "You're late, as usual." Instead of apologizing anxiously, you grin and say, "I like to make an entrance." Now the comment loses its edge. You've reframed it into something intentional. The trick to mastering humor as a shutdown tool is tone. Keep your voice steady. Keep your face relaxed. Don't rush the delivery. Timing matters. A quick, clean response lands stronger than a long explanation. Also, don't overdo it. One sharp, playful line is enough. After that, move on. Changing the subject afterward reinforces that you're not dwelling on the comment. Let's go deeper. Why does humor disarm rude people so effectively? Because it denies them control. Rude behavior is often about dominance, trying to establish superiority, provoke insecurity. or trigger emotion. When you respond with humor, you're signaling emotional immunity. You're saying, your comment doesn't define this moment. And that's powerful, but here's an important distinction. You're laughing with control, not laughing at yourself. There's a difference between confident humor and self-deprecation that lowers your value. Keep your humor sharp, not self-insulting. For example, rude comment, "You're so dramatic." Flip it, "I prefer theatrically expressive." Rude comment, "You think you're smart." Huh? Flip it, "Only on weekdays." Rude comment, "You talk too much." Flip it, "I have a subscription plan." Notice the pattern. You don't deny. You don't argue. You exaggerate slightly and own it. And ownership kills embarrassment. Here's a powerful real lifestyle example. At a dinner party, someone says loudly, "You still single?" Instead of shrinking, you smile and say, "Yeah, I'm in a committed relationship with peace and quiet." Laughter follows, the tension dissolves, the rude comment collapses, and the person who tried to embarrass you, now they look socially clumsy. Humor is elegant, it's classy, it keeps you above the chaos. But it only works when you believe you're unbothered. If you practice this enough, something interesting happens. You stop fearing rude comments. You start seeing them as opportunities to shine. Because when someone tries to put you down, and you respond with wit instead of wounds, you send a message louder than any insult. I'm not fragile. And rude people, they rarely know what to do with that. So next time someone throws shade, don't throw it back. Flip it, smile, and let your confidence do the talking. 3. We don't speak to each other like that. There's something incredibly powerful about a sentence that doesn't attack, but corrects. Not, "Don't talk to me like that." Not, "Who do you think you are?" Not, "Watch your mouth." Just, calmly. We don't speak to each other like that. Notice the shift. This isn't emotional. This isn't explosive. This isn't defensive. It's a standard. And standards shut down rudeness faster than anger ever will. When someone is rude, they're usually testing one of two things: your tolerance or your reaction. They want to see how far they can go. They want to see if you'll laugh it off, ignore it, or absorb it. And if you do, they'll likely push further next time. But when you calmly say, "We don't speak to each other like that," you're doing something subtle but powerful. You're establishing a boundary without escalating the situation. You're not attacking the person, you're correcting the behavior. That's leadership energy. The word "we" is the secret weapon here. It removes the personal attack and reframes the interaction as mutual respect. You're not saying they're terrible, you're saying there's a shared standard that just got violated. And most people instinctively respond to that. Imagine this scenario. You're in a group setting. A colleague says, with a sharp tone, "That's a stupid idea." The room stiffens. All eyes shift to you. Instead of firing back, you pause, you look at them steadily, and in a calm, level voice, you say, "We don't speak to each other like that." No sarcasm, no shouting, no attitude, just calm clarity. Now watch what happens. They either backtrack, "Oh, I didn't mean it like that." Soften, "I just think we could approach it differently." Or stay silent, because they've been checked. In that moment, you didn't just defend yourself. You set the tone for the entire room. And here's what makes this line so effective. It forces self-awareness. Rude comments often slip out impulsively. But when you call out the behavior in a composed way, you interrupt that impulse. You make the speaker confront their own tone. Let's take another example. At a family dinner, someone makes a cutting remark. You've always been the sensitive one. Instead of reacting emotionally, you respond evenly. We don't speak to each other like that. The table goes quiet. Suddenly the comment feels heavier than it did seconds ago. Because now it's not just a joke. It's behavior being evaluated. This line works especially well because it doesn't invite argument. There's nothing to debate. You're not explaining your feelings. You're stating a principle, and principles are hard to argue with. Here's another scenario. A friend says in frustration, "Why are you always messing things up?" Instead of defending your track record, you say, "We don't speak to each other like that. If something's wrong, let's talk about it." Respectfully. Now you've redirected the energy. You've opened the door to a mature conversation, or made it clear you won't entertain disrespect. What makes this phrase so powerful is its tone potential. It must be calm, it must be steady, it must be controlled. If you say it angrily, it becomes confrontational. If you say it nervously, it loses impact. But if you say it like a fact, like gravity, it lands. And here's the psychological layer most people miss. When you say "we," you're subtly elevating yourself to equal footing. You're not beneath them. You're not scrambling to defend yourself. You're speaking as someone who expects mutual respect. That expectation alone changes how people treat you. Now let's talk about confidence. The first time you say this, it might feel uncomfortable. You might worry about awkwardness. You might fear they'll push back. But here's the truth. Awkwardness is temporary. Disrespect, if unchallenged, becomes permanent. Boundaries feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you're not used to setting them. Each time you calmly enforce one, you build internal strength. Over time, people start adjusting their tone around you automatically, because you've trained them, you've shown them. Disrespect won't be entertained here. And there's something incredibly powerful about not needing a long speech to make your point. 4 words. We don't speak like that. Short, clear, unshakable. In a world where people react loudly, the person who responds calmly commands the most respect. You don't need to win the argument. You just need to protect the standard. And when you do that consistently, rude people stop testing you because they realize you're not dramatic, you're not fragile, you're firm. And firmness, delivered with calm, is one of the fastest ways to shut rudeness down instantly. 4. Repeat it back calmly. Sometimes the fastest way to shut down rudeness is to hand it back to the sender, not with venom, not with sarcasm, not louder, just calmly. When someone says something disrespectful, most people either defend themselves or attack back. Both reactions keep the rude person in control. But there's a third option, one that's far more powerful. You repeat it back, slowly, clearly, calmly. Because here's the truth. Many rude comments only sound clever in the moment. When repeated plainly, without tone or emotion, they suddenly sound exactly like what they are, disrespectful. And most people don't enjoy hearing their own ugliness echoed back at them. Imagine someone says, "You're completely incompetent." Instead of firing back, you look at them and say evenly, "So you're saying I'm incompetent?" Now the energy shifts. They hear it again. But this time, it's not wrapped in adrenaline. It's not hidden in sarcasm. It's exposed. And suddenly, they have to own it. That's the magic of repetition. It forces accountability. You're not accusing, you're not escalating, you're clarifying. And clarity is uncomfortable for people who speak carelessly. Let's break down why this works so well. First, it slows the moment down. Rudeness thrives on speed, quick jabs, impulsive digs, comments thrown before anyone can process them. When you repeat it back, you pause the momentum. Second, it removes exaggeration. You're not twisting their words, you're simply holding up a mirror. Third, it invites explanation, and explanations often expose weakness. Picture this scenario. You're in a meeting. You suggest an idea. A coworker smirks and says, "That's the dumbest thing I've heard today." The room tightens. Old reaction, embarrassment, defensiveness, retaliation, new reaction. You maintain eye contact and say calmly, "You're saying it's the dumbest thing you've heard today." Now they're on the spot. They might immediately soften. I just don't think it's practical." See what happened. The insult had to transform into something more reasonable once it was forced into the open. Here's another example. At a family gathering, someone says, "You're just too sensitive." Instead of arguing about your personality, you say, "So you think I'm too sensitive?" Not defensive, not emotional, just steady. Often they'll retreat. "That's not what I meant. I just meant you take things personally." Now the conversation has shifted from attack to explanation. Repetition works because most rude remarks rely on emotional chaos. When you strip the emotion away, the comment often collapses. Let's try another. A friend says in frustration, "You always mess things up." Instead of listing your successes, you respond calmly, "You're saying I always mess things up." Notice the word always. When repeated, exaggerations sound ridiculous. It gently highlights the unfairness without you saying, "That's unfair." And if they double down, then at least they've clearly revealed their mindset, which tells you something important about the relationship. This technique is powerful because it doesn't require clever comebacks. It doesn't require humor. It doesn't require aggression. It requires composure. Tone is everything. Your voice must be neutral. Your face must be relaxed. Your delivery must feel curious, not hostile. If you repeat it back angrily, it becomes confrontation. If you repeat it back calmly, it becomes reflection. You're not fighting, you're observing. Here's a workplace scenario. Your boss says sharply, "Did you even think this through?" Instead of defending your competence, you say evenly, "You're asking if I thought this through." Now the conversation becomes specific. They either clarify what they think is missing, or realize the tone was unnecessary. Repetition is subtle power. It's psychological, it's controlled, it's mature. And here's the deeper reason it works. When someone is rude, they often assume they can move past it quickly. They assume the comment will land and disappear. But when you repeat it back, you don't let it disappear. You make it sit in the room. You give it weight. And when rude words are given weight, they often feel heavier than the speaker intended. There's also something incredibly grounding about asking for confirmation. So you're saying, "Did I hear you correctly?" You mean, these phrases signal confidence. You're not scrambling, you're not shaken, you're processing, and people respect the person who doesn't flinch. But here's the key: after you repeat it back, stop talking, let them respond. Silence after repetition increases pressure. They feel compelled to fill it, often with something softer. You're not trying to win. You're not trying to embarrass. You're trying to elevate the conversation. And if they refuse to elevate it, then at least you've made one thing clear. You don't let disrespect slide quietly into the background. You acknowledge it, you reflect it, and you hand it back with calm strength. Because sometimes the most powerful response isn't a clever line. It's a mirror. 5. Smile and say nothing. There is a kind of power that doesn't shout. It doesn't argue. It doesn't explain. It doesn't defend. It simply smiles and says nothing. When someone throws a rude comment your way, they're usually fishing for something: a reaction, a crack in your confidence, a spark of irritation. They want proof that their words landed. So what happens when they don't? What happens when you respond with a calm, steady smile and absolute silence? You take the wind out of their sails. A composed smile in the face of disrespect is deeply unsettling to someone who expected chaos. It sends a message without saying a single word. That didn't move me, and that message, it's louder than any comeback. Silence forces the rude person to sit in their own comment. There's no distraction, no argument to hide behind, no emotional explosion to justify their behavior, just them and what they said. Let's be clear, this isn't a fake, sarcastic grin. It's not a smirk dripping with contempt. It's a small, controlled, self-assured smile. The kind that says you're secure. Think of it as social judo. Instead of absorbing their energy, you redirect it back to them. Here's how it plays out. Imagine you're at a social gathering. Someone looks at you and says, "Wow, I didn't expect you to show up." There's a subtle sting there, a suggestion that you're usually absent, unreliable, or unwanted. Instead of snapping back or defending your attendance record, you look at them, hold eye contact, and smile, gently. Then nothing. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, the silence stretches. Suddenly they feel exposed. They may rush to fill the gap. "Oh, I just meant, you're always busy." But you didn't chase that clarification. You didn't demand it. You didn't react. You simply let the weight of their own words settle. That's control. Now picture a workplace scenario. You present an idea in a meeting. A coworker mutters, "That's ambitious," but the tone says something else, dismissive, doubtful. Instead of defending your idea immediately, you turn toward them, smile calmly, and say nothing. The room feels it. Now they have two options: stand by their implied criticism, or clarify themselves. Most people choose clarification. "Actually, I just meant it'll take a lot of coordination." See what happened? You didn't attack. You didn't over-explain. You let their own discomfort do the work. Smiling and staying silent works because it signals emotional immunity. Rude people often rely on dominance tactics. They test your confidence. They probe for insecurity. But when you respond with relaxed composure, you communicate something powerful: "I'm not threatened." And confidence that doesn't defend itself, that's intimidating. Here's another example. At a family dinner, someone says loudly, "You're still chasing that dream." There's judgment baked into the question. Instead of launching into a justification of your goals, you smile softly, hold their gaze, no rush to respond. Eventually, someone else at the table might shift the topic, or the speaker may feel compelled to soften their tone. But you never engaged in a defensive spiral. You remained unbothered. And that's the key word: unbothered. Smiling and saying nothing denies rude people emotional access. You're not granting them the satisfaction of seeing irritation. You're not giving them a debate to win. You're not feeding the moment. You're starving it. Now let's talk about why this works psychologically. Humans are uncomfortable with unresolved tension. When someone makes a comment and it's met with silence, the brain searches for resolution. That discomfort falls on the speaker, not you. Because you're calm, you're grounded, you're in control. It also subtly communicates that the comment wasn't worth your energy. And nothing deflates a rude remark faster than being treated as insignificant. But here's the important part. Your smile must be authentic, not mocking, not exaggerated, not sarcastic, just steady. Relax your shoulders, keep your breathing even, hold eye contact briefly, not aggressively, just confidently, then move on. You can even pivot to another conversation or topic afterward that signals closure. For example, rude comment, "You've changed." You smile, pause, then turn and say to someone else, "So how was your trip?" No defense, no drama. The rude comment dissolves into irrelevance. Now, this technique won't always produce an apology. It won't always make someone backtrack, but it will always protect your composure, and that's the real win. Because when you refuse to be emotionally dragged into someone else's negativity, you demonstrate self-control, and self-control commands respect. Not every insult deserves a rebuttal. Not every jab deserves a comeback. Sometimes the strongest move is no move at all. A calm smile, a quiet pause, and the unshakable energy of someone who knows their worth doesn't depend on anyone else's tone. That's not weakness. That's mastery. 6. Ask a logical question. Rude comments often survive on emotion. They're quick, sharp, reactive. They're designed to sting, not to make sense. So what happens when you respond with logic? You shift the battlefield. Instead of meeting emotion with emotion, you introduce something far more powerful, reason. Asking a logical question forces the conversation out of the realm of insult and into the realm of explanation. And explanation requires clarity. It requires thought. It requires thought. It requires accountability. Most rude comments crumble under that pressure. Let's say someone says, "That idea makes no sense." Instead of defending your intelligence or snapping back, you calmly ask, which part specifically doesn't make sense? Now the dynamic changes instantly. You're not arguing, you're not offended. You're inviting structure, and structure exposes exaggeration. If their comment was just a careless jab, they'll struggle to explain. If they can explain, then the conversation becomes productive instead of hostile. Either way, you win. Here's why this technique is so effective. Rude remarks are usually vague. They're broad attacks. "You always do this. That's stupid. You're wrong." Vague criticism feels powerful in the moment because it's dramatic. But when you zoom in with a logical question, you shrink the drama. Imagine a coworker says during a meeting, "This plan is unrealistic." Old reaction. Defend. Justify. Argue. New reaction. What specifically makes it unrealistic? Now the room watches. If they have a legitimate concern, it surfaces clearly. If they were just being dismissive, it becomes obvious. You've transformed a disrespectful moment into a professional one. Let's try a social example. Someone says at a gathering, "You're so sensitive." Instead of debating your personality, you ask calmly, "What did I say that seemed sensitive?" Now they must pinpoint something specific. If they can't, their statement loses credibility. If they can, at least you're dealing with a concrete issue instead of a vague label. Logical questions cut through exaggeration like a knife. Here's another example. A friend says in frustration, "You never listen." That's an absolute statement, and absolutes are rarely accurate. Instead of arguing emotionally, you say, "When was the last time you felt I didn't listen?" Now the conversation shifts from accusation to instance. Instead of defending your entire character, you're discussing a specific event. That's manageable. That's rational. And rational conversations rarely spiral into chaos. What makes this method powerful is your tone. The question must sound curious, not combative. You're not interrogating, you're clarifying. There's a subtle difference. Curious tone. Help me understand. Combative tone. Prove it. Your goal is to elevate the interaction, not dominate it. Here's a workplace scenario. Your manager says sharply, "This isn't good enough." Instead of shrinking or arguing, you respond, "What would make it meet your expectations?" Now you've redirected the criticism into improvement. You've taken the emotional charge out of the statement and replaced it with direction. That's emotional intelligence in action. Let's look at another social situation. Someone says, "Why are you even trying?" There's doubt baked into that question. Instead of defending your ambition, you calmly ask, "What makes you think I shouldn't?" Now they have to articulate their reasoning. And often when people explain their doubts out loud, they realize how unfounded they sound. Logical questions shine light on assumptions, and assumptions rarely look good under light. Here's the deeper psychological layer. When someone is rude, they're often speaking from impulse. Impulse thrives in chaos. Logic requires pause. When you ask a thoughtful question, you force a pause. That pause gives the other person time to hear themselves. It also signals confidence. You're not flustered. You're not scrambling. You're composed enough to think, and composure commands respect. This technique also prevents escalation. If you respond emotionally, the other person may escalate. But if you respond logically, it's difficult for them to justify getting louder without looking unreasonable. Think of it like this. Rudeness throws sparks. Logic removes the oxygen. Here are a few powerful logical question templates you can use. Can you give me an example? What outcome are you hoping for? How does that connect to what we're discussing? What specifically would you change? Is there something you're concerned about? Each one redirects the energy. And here's the most important part. After you ask the question, stay quiet. Let them answer. Silence after a logical question adds weight. It shows you genuinely expect a response. Sometimes they'll soften. Sometimes they'll clarify. Sometimes they'll realize they were out of line. But you'll remain steady. And steadiness is power. Because the person who stays logical in an emotional moment controls the direction of the conversation. You're not trying to win an argument. You're trying to elevate the tone. And when you consistently respond to rudeness with clarity, instead of chaos, people learn something about you. You can't be baited. You can't be flustered. You can't be dragged into unnecessary drama. You operate on reason. And rude people, they rarely know what to do with that. 7. Agree without surrendering. One of the most disarming things you can do when someone is rude is agree. Not fully, not submissively, not in a way that shrinks you, but strategically. Because sometimes the fastest way to shut down rudeness isn't resistance, it's controlled agreement. Rude people often throw out comments, expecting pushback. They're braced for debate. They're ready for friction, and friction gives them energy. So when you respond with calm agreement, you remove the fight. And when there's no fight, there's no fuel. Let's say someone says, "You're too ambitious, you're doing too much." Instead of defending your goals or arguing about your pace, you calmly respond, "Maybe, I do like to aim high. Now what?" There's nothing to attack. You didn't deny it. You didn't apologize. You didn't shrink. You owned it. That's the key. Agree in a way that shows confidence, not defeat. This technique works because it disrupts expectation. Most rude remarks are meant to provoke insecurity, But when you accept the statement, without insecurity, the sting disappears. Imagine someone says at a social event, "You're so quiet." Old reaction, embarrassment, overcompensation, defensive explanation. New reaction, "I can be." Short, calm, neutral. You didn't surrender your identity. You didn't promise to change. You simply acknowledged the observation, without shame. And shame is what rude people are often fishing for. Here's another example. A coworker says, "You always challenge everything." Instead of arguing, you say, "I do ask a lot of questions." Notice the difference. You reframed the criticism into a strength. Agreeing without surrendering is about selective acknowledgement. You agree with the harmless part of the statement, not the insult hidden inside it. Let's break that down. Rude comment, "You're stubborn." Hidden insult, "You're unreasonable." Strategic agreement, "I'm persistent when something matters to me." See what happened? You didn't deny the trait. You redefined it, and redefining is power. Here's a family scenario. Someone says, "You've changed." The tone suggests disapproval. Instead of defending your growth, you smile slightly and say, "I have." That's it. No explanation, no apology. Now the burden shifts back to them. Are they going to criticize growth openly? Most people won't, because once you accept the label confidently, it loses its weapon value. Agreeing without surrendering also prevents escalation. When someone expects resistance and doesn't get it, their momentum stalls. Imagine a heated moment. A friend says, "You're being dramatic." Instead of arguing about whether you are or aren't, you respond, "Maybe I feel strongly about this." You acknowledged emotion, but didn't accept the insult. Now the conversation can move forward. This technique works beautifully in the workplace. Your boss says, "You're pushing back a lot." Instead of defending your behavior, you respond, "I do want to make sure we've considered all angles." You agreed with the surface observation, not the negative interpretation. Here's why this is powerful psychologically. Conflict thrives on opposition. When you remove opposition, you remove tension, and without tension, the rude comment can't grow. It also signals maturity. You're secure enough to admit partial truth without feeling attacked. In fact, confident people don't panic when labeled. They evaluate calmly. Let's try another scenario. Someone says, "You think you're always right." Instead of arguing, you say, "I do care about being accurate." You didn't surrender. You reframed. The attack dissolves. Now here's an important warning. Agreeing without surrendering doesn't mean accepting disrespect. If someone says something cruel or demeaning, you still set boundaries. But when the comment is rooted in exaggeration or personality critique, strategic agreement is powerful. For example, rude comment, "You're obsessed with work." Response, "I'm focused on my goals." Rude comment, "You're too intense." Response, "I take things seriously." Rude comment, "You're different." Response, "I am." Each response removes the emotional hook. And once the hook is gone, the comment can't latch onto you. Tone is everything here. Calm voice, relaxed posture, no sarcasm. If you agree angrily, it sounds defensive. If you agree calmly, it sounds grounded. And grounded people are hard to shake. Here's a powerful real-life style example. At a reunion, someone says with a smirk, "You still chasing that big dream?" Instead of defending your ambition, you smile and say, then silence. Now they have to decide whether they're going to openly mock ambition, which usually makes them look small. You didn't justify your dream. You didn't argue. You simply stood in it. That's strength. Agreeing without surrendering communicates something subtle but strong. I'm not threatened by your opinion. And when someone sees that their words can't destabilize you, they often stop trying. Because rudeness relies on resistance. When there's no resistance, only calm acceptance and quiet confidence, the rude comment loses its edge. You don't have to win every exchange. You just have to stay centered. And sometimes the most powerful way to shut someone down is to nod, smile slightly, and agree without giving up an inch of who you are. 8. Use a strategic compliment. When someone is rude, the instinct is to fire back. Match tone with tone, energy with energy, sharpness with sharper. But what if you did the opposite? What if, instead of throwing a verbal punch, you offered a compliment? Not a fake one, not a sarcastic one, a strategic one. Because sometimes the fastest way to shut down rudeness is to elevate the moment beyond it. A strategic compliment works because it disrupts expectation. Rude people prepare for conflict. They brace for defense or retaliation. When you respond with unexpected positivity, you throw them off balance. And when someone is off balance, they lose control of the interaction. Here's how it works. Imagine someone says in a dismissive tone, "That idea is kind of naive." Instead of arguing, you calmly say, "You're usually really insightful. That's why I'm interested in what specifically concerns you." Now pause. Notice what happened. You did 3 things at once. You complimented their intelligence. You redirected the conversation to specifics. You subtly reminded them of the standard you expect from them. It's powerful because it appeals to their identity. Most people want to be seen as thoughtful, smart, fair, or kind. When you strategically acknowledge that identity, they feel pressure to live up to it. Let's try another example. At a social gathering, someone makes a cutting remark. You always have something to prove, don't you? Instead of snapping back, you smile lightly and say, "I appreciate that you're usually straightforward. What makes you say that?" Now they're forced to either clarify respectfully or contradict the straightforward identity you just gave them. Strategic compliments create a mirror, but a flattering one. And people rarely want to shatter a flattering reflection. Here's a workplace scenario. A colleague says in front of others, "You clearly didn't think this through." Instead of defending your preparation, you respond calmly. "You're usually very detail-oriented. What part do you think needs more thought?" Now the room sees maturity. You're not flustered, you're composed, and the colleague has to shift from accusation to analysis. You've taken control without raising your voice. This technique works because it subtly raises the social standard. You're implying, "You're better than that comment." And most people don't want to look beneath their perceived standard. Here's a family example. Someone says sarcastically, "Wow, look who finally decided to show up." Instead of reacting emotionally, you respond, "You're normally welcoming. That sounded different. Everything okay?" Now the spotlight shifts. You didn't accuse them of being rude. You gently pointed out the inconsistency, and inconsistency makes people uncomfortable. Strategic compliments are effective because they use positive framing to highlight negative behavior. But tone is everything. Your voice must be steady. Your expression must be neutral or lightly warm. There can't be a hint of mockery. If it sounds sarcastic, it becomes confrontation. If it sounds sincere, it becomes influence. Here's another example. Someone says, "You're so dramatic." Instead of arguing about your personality, you say, "I know you value honesty, so tell me specifically what felt dramatic." Now you've complimented their honesty while requesting clarity. They either explain constructively or soften. Either way, you avoid escalation. Let's look at why this works psychologically. Humans are driven by identity. We act in ways that align with how we see ourselves, or how others see us. When you strategically compliment someone's positive traits, you activate their desire to maintain that image. If you say, "You're usually respectful," they feel subtle pressure to be respectful. If you say, "You're one of the more thoughtful people here," they're less likely to double down on something careless. It's social psychology in motion. Here's a powerful real-life style example. At a team meeting, someone says dismissively, "That'll never work." Instead of pushing back defensively, you say, "You've had great instincts on past projects. What risks are you seeing here?" Now they're invited into problem-solving mode instead of attack mode. You've transformed criticism into collaboration, and you did it with one well-placed compliment. Another social example. Someone jokes, "You're still chasing that big dream." You smile and respond, "You've always been supportive. What makes you unsure about it?" Now they're faced with a choice: support you, or contradict the supportive identity you just highlighted. Strategic compliments are graceful. They show strength without aggression. But here's the key: they must be grounded in truth. Don't invent traits. Pull from something real. Even if it's small, you're usually fair. You're known for being honest. You're detail-oriented. You're direct. Then attach your redirection. It sounds like praise, but it functions as a boundary. And boundaries delivered with grace are incredibly powerful, because while rude people expect resistance, they rarely expect elevation. When you elevate the moment, you rise above it. You don't fight fire with fire, you fight fire with composure. And nothing is more disarming than someone who responds to disrespect, not with anger, but with class. 9. The broken record technique. Some people don't test you once. They test you repeatedly. They push, they nudge, they circle back, they try again and again. That's where most people crack, not under the first rude comment, but under the persistence. Enter the broken record technique. Simple, calm, repetitive. It's exactly what it sounds like. You repeat your boundary, word for word, without adding emotion, without changing tone, and without getting dragged into a side argument. No escalation, no over-explaining, no defending, just repetition. Because when someone keeps pushing, what they're really looking for is movement. They want you to bend, to justify, to debate, to lose composure. The broken record technique denies them that satisfaction. Let's say someone says, "Come on, just tell me what happened." You respond calmly, "I'm not discussing that." They push, "Why not? It's not a big deal." You repeat, same tone, "I'm not discussing that." They laugh, "Wow, you're being dramatic." You repeat, "I'm not discussing that." Notice what you didn't do. You didn't defend your privacy. You didn't argue about being dramatic. You didn't justify your boundary. You simply held it. And boundaries held calmly are powerful. The strength of this technique lies in emotional neutrality. The more emotional you become, the more fuel they get. But when your tone stays steady, their energy eventually burns out. Think of it like this. Rude persistence is a wave. Repetition is a wall. The wave crashes, the wall doesn't move. Let's try a workplace example. A colleague keeps criticizing your approach. "You should really do it my way." You respond, "I'm comfortable with my approach." They continue, "But your way is inefficient." You repeat, "I'm comfortable with my approach." They push harder. "Why are you so resistant?" You repeat, calmly, I'm comfortable with my approach. Eventually one of two things happens. They stop pushing, they escalate publicly, and look unreasonable. Either way, you maintain control. Here's a social scenario. At a party, someone keeps teasing you about being single. So when are you finally settling down? You say, I'm happy where I am. They grin. Yeah, but don't you want something serious? You repeat, I'm happy where I am. They laugh. You say that now. You repeat, steady and calm, I'm happy where I am. Eventually, the joke dies, because it's not getting a reaction. And that's the key. The broken record technique works because it removes variation. There's nothing new to attack, no emotional shift to exploit, just consistency. Consistency makes pushy behavior feel awkward. Let's break down why this is so effective psychologically. When someone challenges your boundary, they're testing for cracks. If you change your wording each time, it signals uncertainty. But when you repeat the exact same phrase, you communicate certainty. Certainty is intimidating. It says, I've already decided. There's also something subtly exhausting about arguing with someone who refuses to argue back. When your response doesn't change, the other person eventually runs out of angles. Here's another example. A friend keeps pressuring you to attend an event you don't want to go to. Just come for a little while. I'm not going. Why not? It'll be fun. I'm not going. Don't be boring. I'm not going. Notice how powerful that becomes. No explanation, no apology, just calm repetition. Now here's an important distinction. Your tone must stay calm. If you repeat your boundary with irritation, it turns into confrontation. If you repeat it calmly, it turns into authority. Authority doesn't shout. Authority repeats. And here's something else. The broken record technique protects your energy. You're not crafting new arguments. You're not emotionally engaging. You're conserving your composure. It also signals something crucial. Your boundary isn't negotiable. Negotiable boundaries invite debate. Non-negotiable boundaries end it. Imagine someone says something rude, like, you're overreacting. You respond, I don't appreciate being spoken to that way. They roll their eyes, you're proving my point. You repeat, I don't appreciate being spoken to that way. No defending your reaction. No explaining your feelings. Just repetition. Eventually, they either adjust their tone or expose themselves as unreasonable. And when someone exposes themselves, you don't have to say anything further. The room notices. The broken record technique isn't flashy. It's not witty. It's not dramatic. It's disciplined. And discipline is what shuts down persistent rudeness. Because while rude people rely on emotional chaos, you rely on calm consistency. You don't bend. You don't argue. You don't escalate. You repeat. And in that repetition, you communicate something very clear. This boundary stands, no matter how many times they test it, no matter how creative they get, like a steady beat in the background, unwavering, controlled, firm, and eventually, they stop pushing, because there's nothing to push against. Just calm, unmovable resolve. 10. The calm exit line. Sometimes, the strongest response isn't a comeback. It isn't a clever rebuttal. It isn't a long explanation. It isn't even a boundary lecture. It's an exit. A calm, controlled exit. Because you don't have to stay in conversations that drain you, disrespect you, or spiral into negativity. You are allowed to step away, and when you do it with composure, you send a message far louder than any argument. I value my peace. The calm exit line is simple, direct, unemotional. Something like, "I'm going to end this conversation here," or "I'm stepping away," or "I don't think this is productive anymore." No drama, no insults, no storming off, just a decision. Let's explore why this works so powerfully. Most rude interactions escalate because people feel obligated to keep engaging. They think they must defend themselves, explain their position, or win the exchange. But you don't. You are not required to participate in disrespect. If a conversation becomes hostile, repetitive, or unproductive, you can leave, and leaving calmly shifts the power dynamic. Imagine this scenario. Someone is arguing aggressively, raising their voice, or making personal digs. Old reaction, you argue back. New reaction, you say, "I'm going to step away." Then you do. No lingering, no final jab, no emotional exit, just movement. That movement is important. Words mean less if you stay and continue debating. But when you actually leave, whether physically or by ending the call or conversation, your boundary becomes real. It demonstrates self-respect, and self-respect is magnetic. Let's try a workplace example. A colleague keeps criticizing your work in a harsh tone. "This is all wrong. You should have done it differently." You respond calmly. "I appreciate the feedback. I'm going to revisit it." Then you exit the discussion. You didn't argue. You didn't apologize excessively. You acknowledged feedback and moved on. The message is clear. You are open to improvement, but you will not engage in hostility. Here's a social example. At a gathering, someone makes repeated sarcastic comments. You smile lightly and say, "I'm going to step out for a bit." Then you leave the immediate conversation. No speech, no confrontation. This does two things. It protects your emotional space. It signals that sarcasm isn't worth your participation. Rude behavior thrives on engagement. When engagement stops, the behavior loses momentum. Now, let's address an important concern. Some people worry that exiting a conversation seems weak. It doesn't. Walking away from negativity is strength. Staying in a toxic exchange out of obligation is weakness. Strength is choosing where you invest your energy. You are not a verbal punching bag. You are not required to absorb disrespect. Exiting calmly is a boundary, and boundaries define healthy relationships. Here's another powerful version of the calm exit line. "I think we should continue this another time." It's polite, it's non-confrontational, and it signals closure. If the other person tries to pull you back in, "But we're not done," you can repeat, "I think we should continue this another time." This is similar to the broken record technique, but focused on ending rather than repetition. You're not debating the decision, you're stating it. Let's look at why tone matters. The calm exit line must be delivered with neutrality, not anger, not sarcasm, not superiority. Neutrality. Your voice should be steady, your expression calm, your body language relaxed. You are not punishing the other person, you are protecting yourself. That distinction matters. Exiting with hostility still escalates the emotional temperature. Exiting with calmness lowers it. Here's a real lifestyle example. A friend begins criticizing your choices. "I just don't think you're handling things well." You respond, "I hear you. I'm going to step away for now." Then you do. You didn't dismiss their perspective. You simply chose to end the exchange. Later, if appropriate, you can revisit the topic in a healthier setting. But you don't have to do it in the heat of the moment. That is the essence of the calm exit line: timing and self-control. It acknowledges a truth many people forget. Not every conversation needs to be finished immediately. Not every disagreement requires resolution in one sitting. Some discussions benefit from space. Space allows emotions to settle. Space allows reflection. Space creates the possibility of better communication later. And space is yours to choose. Let's explore a workplace application. If a meeting becomes unproductive or hostile, you can say, "I think we've covered the main points. I'll follow up later." Then end the meeting. You maintained professionalism. You didn't escalate. You preserved your dignity. And you demonstrated leadership, because leaders know when to continue and when to conclude. Now here's a subtle but powerful psychological effect of the calm exit line. It forces reflection. When someone expects an argument and doesn't get one, they may reconsider their tone. Not always, but often, because silence and distance can be more impactful than rebuttals. A person who sees you calmly leave a negative interaction might think, "Maybe I went too far," or "Perhaps I should approach this differently next time." You didn't lecture them into awareness. You modeled boundaries, and boundaries teach people how to treat you. The calm exit line is not about winning. It's about protecting your emotional health and maintaining control. You cannot control how others behave, but you can control how you respond. Sometimes the best response is no further response. A simple, respectful exit. That is strength. That is wisdom. And that is how you shut down negativity without becoming part of it.
In the end, handling rude people isn't about winning every exchange. It's about protecting your peace and responding with control instead of chaos. You don't need perfect comebacks, long arguments, or emotional reactions. Calm words, firm boundaries, and confident composure are far more powerful. Rudeness loses its edge when it meets patience. Negativity fades when it isn't fed. You deserve respect, and you can model it without surrendering your dignity. Keep growing, keep setting standards, and remember, strength isn't loud, it's steady.